So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Active 2030 podcast from 20 to 30. And tonight we have some special guests. We have our members from the Sacramento area, the ladies and the gents. And we're going to be focusing on our Centennial celebration. So Manu, tell us, what do we have in the agenda tonight? What are we going to be asking to our host and not to our guests? Sorry, tonight.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? It's been great. It's great to say hi to you. Thank you all the guys from Sacramento number 1 and all the girls from Sacramento. It's great to have you as our invites here today. So as Nuria was telling, today it's all about the centenary. For everyone that doesn't know, Active 2030 has actually been around for 100 years, and that was celebrated this year in July in 2022 in Sacramento, because that's the place where we were founded. So I'm just going to ask like one question to every member, and I want you to think about it. So I want to see who's the first one, like who's going to be the risky one, so I can ask you first.
I'll go first.
Any of the Okay, great.
Go ahead, Coons.
So please describe Active 2030 in 30 seconds.
So Active 2030 is a community service organization for those that are in between the ages of 20 and 39. It focuses on serving disadvantaged kids in the area. It's also a networking opportunity and also an opportunity to grow in your leadership, your personal leadership skills.
Oh, that's great. Any of the girls, do you want to answer a question from me now?
Sure.
Great, Latifa. So please describe what was the 100 year of Active 2030 for you.
What was it for me? It's a piece of history. And I think it's a show of how far the club has come along and like how it's expanded from what it originally was.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Ryan, I think you said you wanted to help us as well. So are you ready for me?
Let's see what you got, please.
Okay, great. 30 seconds. What was it like organizing the Centuries Convention?
A lot of pressure. I think the expectations were great, rightfully so. But it really was a pleasure to get to work with, our domestic partners as well as our international partners as well too. But it was just a lot of different, blending of different clubs and history and tradition all into one. And it was at the end of the day a great celebration. I think one we could all feel proud about, and a good kickoff to the next 100 years of Active 2030.
That's right. It was an actual great convention. I don't know, Stacy, can you hear us? So I can ask you a question next, or should we go to Patrick? I think we're going to go to Patrick because we just lost Stacy. So, Patrick, are you ready for me? Okay, great. 30 seconds. How did it feel when the convention ended?
I was exhausted, a little hungover.
So were we.
But thrilled. And this was my first ever convention. It was the first national convention for me, certainly first international convention. So I really didn't know what to expect, and I had a blast. I learned a lot. I think I developed a particularly special appreciation for how global 2030 is, when it's really just been a local experience for me. And how meaningful it's been and impactful around the world, and then I got to make great friends. So I felt good. I needed to hydrate a lot and rest, the next couple days, but it was terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all always say it. You just need an extra day to just recover from the convention. That's always something that happens. Stacy already joined us. So Stacy, are you ready? You're the last one to go. So my question to you is, what was your favorite part of this convention?
Oh my gosh, the entire thing was so much fun. I think for me it was just so great to get together with everyone again, especially after the last few years with COVID and all of that stuff. It was just so nice to see, familiar faces from the past conventions, and then meet a whole bunch of new people and just celebrate, the last 100 years. And it was just a whole week of celebrations and fun, and from one day to the next, it really was just a fabulous time. So, and it was a great partnership, I would say, between our club and Number One as far as like the whole planning process and everything too. So it was just really great to get together again.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, this is it for my part. As you can see, we just tried like to summarize in a big part what was like Active 2030 and what the centenary was. But Miguel is going to join us now, and he's going to ask some really quick questions so that you guys can answer them. So Miguel, I turn this to you.
Thank you. This is Miguel speaking from Mexico. I met most of you guys during the Centennial convention, and it was great for me. It was a great experience. And here, I just want to ask for the people who are listening to us about your experience internationally on the club. So have some of you guys visited another country on a convention or something? Could you raise your hand if you are? Nope, not yet.
Not yet.
But next convention is going to be in Mexico. So who of you guys are going to visit, or are you planning visiting Mexico next year, this July?
I would love to go.
Patrick, pretty sure of it.
My best friend he was traveling in Mexico City, and he had nothing but fantastic things to say about it. So I'm very tempted right now.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I would be joyful to welcome you guys there, and all the people from the 8 or 9 countries. How many countries are there in the club, in the Active 2030 club, Nuria? Could you tell us?
We are like around 1,700 to 1,800 members right now.
Okay, no, but how many countries do we have? Yeah.
In which
are
country?
they 9?
In Mexico?
No, I mean Active 2030 globally. How many countries do we have clubs?
8 countries. Hey.
Okay, perfect.
You just want education. You're not supposed to be asking that.
Because I'm never pretty sure if it's. I don't. I prefer to ask someone else. But yeah, I think
recount.
I have these questions of if you guys are interested of going to some of the countries we have international conventions later, because Mexico is the next year. Then for the next year, it's gonna be Dominican Republic, and in between, there are gonna be midterms at Panama, and I think the other one is not decided yet. But which of these countries would you rather to visit if you need to choose? What would you think would be better or more probable to go? I don't know, Latifa, could you answer? Or Stacy?
I think you guys should tell us which one's most fun.
Of course, I'm gonna say Mexico, but Nuria's gonna say Costa Rica. And
it all depends on what you're looking for. I always get my experiences through food, so I can like all the views on that. Tacos, arepas, pupusas, gallo pinto. But from there on, it depends on what you're looking for.
I will say,
and based on the people you met. Sorry, Stacey. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say Costa Rica has always been on my bucket list, so that is one place I would definitely love to go. One place I would definitely love to go.
Cool. And based on the people you met during the Centennial convention, which country did you meet more people? Which country were there? I don't know if I said it correctly, but
I think for myself, the most country people, if you will, that we connected with, I think from Panama I met a lot of individuals from there and had a great time. I know also Panama is a very impressive from a business center, and also from a growing kind of city down there. It's a pretty amazing place. I know I love to check out Panama myself, but met a lot of Panamanians and a lot of fun, and nice people they were too. Very inspiring.
Totally, I think the same. And they were, of course, the bigger group during the convention, I think. So I think those are my questions, Nuria. If you want to say something else, or do we go to the next stage?
Of course. Let's see. I would just like to ask you guys a little bit about the award, the recognition that you were given by the city council and the city hall for you to celebrate a specific as Sacramento City, not only you as Active 2030s, but the city itself, for everything, for the Centennial celebration. They declare the Active 2030 week. Am I right?
The week, correct.
Yes. So can you guys, maybe Chris or Ryan or any of the 1032 ladies can share a little bit about this and what it means for you to actually have this privilege?
Yeah, so it was interesting what ended up happening. This was kind of a surprise for the club number one. It was championed by the 1032 club. So Hillary had a huge role in that. I know there's a couple of others who did as well, but just lots of work behind the scenes, and it was a really cool surprise. I was filled in, thankfully, so I kept the secret, but when they announced it at the gala event, it was very special, so it was nice.
And I would say I was actually on the receiving end of that as far as the surprise, and it was so unexpected. I know it was talked about, but I know to get some of those things pulled off can take a lot of work, especially in bureaucratic Sacramento. And it just, I don't know, it kind of made us pause and realize that, Sacramento is really the beginning of 2030. And for the city itself to recognize our organization really said a lot right there. So I think for us that there's many meanings, but yeah, the fact that our own city actually realized, how great 2030 is and where it began, that meant a lot right there, personally.
Yeah, it was a very significant moment. I remember it in the gala, when they start sharing the information and the 1032 ladies gave you the actual little paper certifying that this was going to be the Active 2030 week. It was like, I felt proud for a moment there, because it has been something that has been rolling for 100 years and still makes a difference. It still transforms everything in the surrounding in which it is. So it was a moment to feel just proud of it, proud of the best, of the name tag, of the pins, of the song. So it was very, very amazing.
And Nuri, to add to that, I was going to say to add to that too, if you really look at it from a macro standpoint, and the amount of children that our organization has affected locally in Sacramento. I mean, there's the countless children abroad who have been affected in all their different local markets. But I think from our organization standpoint, a organization with individuals as young as we are, the amount of children we've impacted, I would go on stand to say I don't know anyone else who's done something like that in Sacramento alone. But I think that's pretty cool to realize how many people have been impacted by Active 2030 in Sacramento alone right there. So that's kind of a cool thing to think about too, in a 100-year span.
Yes, exactly. Totally agree. And it is very close to actually what we were discussing during our International Assembly, right? That I was encouraging people to actually have milestones, physical milestones for people to see with little, plaques or anything related to it, for people to see it and for people to be aware that we are present in cities and that we're making the difference. So this is something that it's going to make a difference, not now, but in time. Yeah. People are going to be aware of it. So it's like making the organization just last forever, basically. So now, I guess.
Quickly, Nuri, about that, for someone who's, Chris and Ryan have been around longer than I have in the club. But for the guys that are newer, seeing something like that, to your point, is just a reminder of how important it is that we engage with our local civic community, right? We can do all of our good charitable work, but the reality is, if we're trying to develop leaders through 2030, we have to engage with the local civic market, the national governments in some cases, particularly in Latin America, where this is a critical part of our mission. If we're developing leaders, we want to remind everyone who's involved, hey, go and deal with your city government, go and deal with your county government or whatever. It is bureaucratic and it is difficult, where we are, certainly. So it was nice to see that. And I think also, everybody saw all of the older ladies and gentlemen that were part of 1032 in the past, or Club Number 1 past actives that night, the gala. Really good opportunity for them to see, kind of a unique milestone of achievement. I got a lot of comments about that from the past active members. I thought it was terrific.
That's true. They were very impressed. But I guess people were super impressed with the entire event itself, because we were full of different experiences, different activities, and everything was including, a mist of something new and something very unique belonging to Sacramento, right? So, Manu, what do you think about that? We cannot hear.
Now you can hear me.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually was listening to you, and I 1000% agree in what's so important of making impact in your own community. And I think that's sort of what we all are actually doing. And I always said it's great to begin from home. And we really, we were able to see that when we went to Sacramento. We were able to see that sense of community, the great impact that you made. That was really amazing for all of us. And also, as Stacey was saying, I think it was great to see you both, Sacramento number 1 and Sacramento number 1032 working together. And we had actually an amazing convention. So I just want to ask you all, what was your favorite day? Because you already told me your favorite moment, Stacey did. But I want to ask you, as a whole, what was your favorite day in our convention?
I'll jump in first. I think for me, I think the last day, the gala day with let's start in the beginning, right? In the morning, we had the Comfort Cases packing party, which really kind of brought the national project, of course. But that, I think, really was very special, having the founder of Comfort Cases, who flew all the way out from the East Coast to join us there and to be present, to not only witness that event, but also be there for the gala that night and be our keynote address. But I think that day right there kind of really brought together the philanthropic part of 2030, and then summarized with the celebration of 100 years. There were so many good things throughout the week that took place, but I think for me, the last day was the creme de la creme, as they say.
Yeah, it was an amazing day, and we were able to actually see everything that actually Active 2030 is. So it was service, it was camaraderie, and the speech you were telling us, that was an amazing speech. It really got into my heart, and I still remember it. And I also do think that was an amazing day. Did anyone else have a different favorite day that you want to tell us about, or do you think that was your favorite day in the convention?
I thought my favorite day was Nations Night, the Thursday. I guess you could say I'm a less formal guy. The people were wearing tank tops and shorts, and obviously we had a brutally hot week that week. That day was no exception. So I felt good in the lesser attire, but I really enjoyed that, because the lead up of the day we had a morning of convention activities at the hotel. That's when I participated in the speech contest. Got to see the formal aspects of the convention first. Then there was a group of people, who went out on the river for a while, which was, terrific bonding, camaraderie, fun getting to show off a little bit of Sacramento, natural Sacramento to everyone who came in from overseas and all around the country. And then in the evening, we had a great party at the Railroad Museum. Great band. I thought I had an awesome time that night.
I think you're being very humble, because you mentioned you participated in the speech contest. You didn't mention you won.
Right. Well, yeah. So you always end up feeling a little better with a victory, right? If I won a water balloon toss, I usually would I would be dipping girls on the dance floor afterwards. That was just that's the way I operate. So I was already happy going into the evening. Yeah, I guess so. I was a little biased, but maybe somebody else can validate the point that the evening was good on its merits.
No, yeah, and we're actually gonna go ahead on Nations Night a little bit later because we're gonna ask you a very 2030 question about Nations Night. But does anyone else want to tell us anything about their favorite day? Maybe also Nations Night without participating and winning the speech contest, because it was actually a great speech. Like I was there and I heard it, and I wholeheartedly agree with you winning. And please don't be mad at me, the other contestants.
Patrick, you mentioned a thing there about the Nations Day. It was in the Railroad Museum of Sacramento. I think it's the California State, right? The California State Museum. And that was a pretty good thing about the Nations Day for me, because we were able, as foreigners or as international members, to know and to know better American history and how it's related with Sacramento, you know. So the rally you guys did and you organized was a pretty cool thing. Good detail. I mean, and I wanted you to tell me what was the best part of this Nations Night. For me, that was one of them. But what about you guys? What did you see about our countries, our tables with our decorations and food and drinks and everything? What you guys saw?
I just love the energy you all bring, and I thought it was really cool when Panama got up to sing, you know, their song from their country, and it just added a really cool, unique aspect.
It was epic, yeah.
And then the past active of number one club got up to sing after that too. So it was just a really fun night. I loved it.
Cool, nice. Thanks, Stacy. What about you guys?
I mean, for me, it's like the whole thing, and I think I also was on a convention planning aspect. I was kind of going a whole different direction, looking the next day, the next event, and looking more at the logistics part of it. When I did stop and breathe and look around, I mean, everyone was having fun. The different countries that came and represented their different, foods and drinks and garb and everything else too. That was pretty special. But yeah, I think for me, I was a little bit more kind of head down a little bit and more looking at the run of show. But it was a great time had by all I know from hearing from commentary from others.
And the band was great too.
I can attest to that. I think I was dancing the whole time.
I don't think I can remember anything in particular from the tables, other than face painting, having a little shot of something, or but what I want to commend everyone for in that regard is just there's a reminder. Sometimes we have a problem in American dynamics, interpersonal dynamics. We're not as hospitable, I think, and that. It was just amazing. I think one of the great hallmarks of the Latin American members chapters of 2030 is don't be afraid. If English isn't your first language, go out and make a friend. And it should be a reminder for us, like there's no reason not to be outgoing and forward, and you can do. That's what I took away from walking around that night was, you didn't have to know someone well or be able to communicate perfectly. You could probably connect and have a great time anyway.
That's pretty good. I like your words.
And I think that's also great for Nations Night, right? Because for everyone that doesn't know what Nations Night is a place where it's a night where all of the countries just go and showcase things from their country. And it's amazing because obviously we've not maybe, as Patrick was saying, we've not met each other, or we probably haven't been to that country. So it's amazing to have this glimpse of what we do in our countries and what we drink and what we eat. And I think Miguel's going to ask you this, but I think everyone should answer this. So Miguel's going to choose who's going to say it first. But you have to say what was your favorite drink that night? And someone has to say aguardiente.
So aguardiente is not the best.
It is.
No.
Who tried
Definitely
it?
the winner of that
Who
night
liked it?
was the cacique. No. The winner of the night was the cacique. The watermelon cacique for sure. Yeah.
I'm
do
pretty
wanna
sure
ask,
nobody
who tried
here
and
knows
liked aguardiente?
what's. I think no one here knows what's aguardiente, Manuela. Sorry,
You didn't
I am
try it in
sorry.
Nations Night? The Colombian drink, you didn't try it?
Okay, I think
Oh,
Patrick
tried it, and he obviously hated it, but it's okay.
It was fabulous. By that time, I mean, everybody knows. Once you're 2 or 3 drinks in, it all tastes the same anyway. So,
You liked it then?
yeah.
Well, that's the first. I didn't like it when I first tried it, so
I think
I
our
was just
group,
trying to trick you guys.
our Mexican group brought like, I don't know, probably 10 kilograms. I mean, a lot of bags of candies, and they all went off that night. Like, and some of them also during the assembly that I liked a lot. But I think that was a huge part of it. So what about you, Latifa? You haven't said anything yet. What did
As
you
far
like?
as the drinks,
The drinks, the food, everything.
Obviously, aguardiente.
Oh, okay. I didn't try that. I didn't actually eat any food during
Okay.
Nations Night. And the only drinks that I had was like at the bar. I had like a deep Eddie.
Well, okay.
That's okay. That's
You
okay.
made up
You'll
for it with
have
dancing, Latifa. You were dancing with the storm out there, I recall.
Yeah, I was. That
No
was
time
so
to eat or
fun.
drink.
That's the beauty of Nations Night. I guess that at the end of the day, like Manuela was mentioning before, it's not only the showcase that counts or that matters. It's the fact that we, as Active 2030ans, we are just an entire international family. And since some of us might not have the opportunity to travel to every single country until a certain point of our careers, let's say that way, in Active 2030, then Nations Night opens that opportunity for us to see it, to live it, and also to live it next to our brothers and sisters in Active 2030. We tend to say that in every single place where you have an Active 2030, you'll have family. And that's basically true. And there's no better way for you to learn about its culture and to actually know about another Active 2030 country than in Nations Night, where you are able to actually try the sweets, eat something delicious from their country, have a drink, a different drink. I will never forget my first tequila in a Nations Night with a jalapeno. Literally, they were serving the tequila inside a jalapeno and you had to drink it as a shot. And so many memories, like for example, the fireball from the United States, or there's a very, I don't remember its name, from El Salvador, but don't ever drink it. If I ever remember the name, I'll share it with you guys, because there's an alcoholic beverage there that you should never try. And of course, you have the Romes from the Dominican Republic and from Panama. So it's all culture, it's all history behind each one of the items that we place on our tables. So it makes a huge difference. If you actually analyze it from a very deep point of view, it's not only alcohol and party, it's us on a table, as an entire family in a room.
Agreed.
Hey.
So
Yes,
with
and
that
for
in
example,
mind,
Colombia, we were very happy to showcase Encanto like a lot. Like everything
Exactly.
was Encanto stamped in our table, and actually like generally.
Encanto, the Disney
Exactly.
movie, right? So,
Yeah,
Yes,
the
exactly.
movie.
Which is awesome, because at the end of the day, you can see like culture in it, and everyone watches the movie and they are like, oh, I love the songs, and oh, I love the dresses and the colors, and but actually you can feel it, you can sense it, you can actually have it close to you through an Active 2030 member from Colombia. So it totally changes your perspective of things when you analyze it from that point.
Yeah, very much so.
So, thinking about conventions and just landing in the United States right now, since you all guys are from the United States, which one has been your favorite national convention? And don't say Sacramento. Not well. If it is Sacramento, then go ahead and say Sacramento. But from your own experience, from what you've seen before, taking away the element of the international part that we had in Sacramento, which one will be your favorite national convention?
So I'll jump in. I've been to a few, and actually, believe it or not, I wouldn't say it was a national convention. It was actually my first convention I ever went to. It was a midterm convention in Petaluma, and I was just very taken aback by the folks from Petaluma. They're just a great club, a small unit, but a very tight-knit unit. I know Greg, our president right now, is from there, and so really cool to see him in the chair right now, and his leadership. But it was my first experience. I didn't know what to expect, and just the fun they had, the well thought out planning. My wife's actually from that area in Sonoma County, so actually getting to go and see Petaluma and see it from a member perspective and getting kind of the behind the scenes look at Petaluma, it was just an experience I'll never forget about. But just the people I met there and have continued to keep in contact with due to that event. Really stood out to me. So I'll say it was a midterm event, wasn't national, but it led to me going to national events because of the good time I had there. So Petaluma.
That was the hook.
Yes, it was the hook. Exactly, yes.
And Petaluma, it's such a great place. I love those guys.
Oh, they're fun.
Big to all of them.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what about you guys? Latifa, Patrick, Chris, favorite national?
So this was actually my first national convention.
Sacramento for all of you.
Here.
First and the best.
So you had a great experience then. I love it. Awesome.
I'll put a vote in for
Sacramento for all of you.
Yes, for sure. Once you enjoy the first convention, you never stop because you just fall in love with it. Seriously.
I know I myself actually, I think I met quite a few international folk at the last international convention. I think that was domestic, was in Eugene, Oregon. And so that was, not that it was any less than the Petaluma experience, but I kind of knew what to expect already. But again, that was my first international convention. And kind of, seeing the different, cultures come together and have a great time. It was a very eye-opening experience. So I already kind of knew what to expect when we had, Sacramento ahead of us. And it made for a great experience knowing what to expect. But Eugene was a really cool event one as well too.
I agree. Eugene was a great experience. It was beautiful. The place it's just a contrast, right? Because Eugene is like full of trees and all is green and the place is wonderful. But it's totally the experience itself, as you mentioned before. It's just having that element, that additional ingredient into the formula of international that pops everything in a different way.
Yeah.
So, yes. So I don't know if you guys would like to have a final comment regarding what the Centennial means, represents, or what you see the Centennial celebration for future as a reference, what it's going to stand for our future generations, the future Active 2030.
I'll chime in again. Ironically, before even this invitation, and thank you, by the way, everyone, for having us be on here and talk and have kind of the Sacramento perspective on things. It's really an honor to be on here with you all and to see everyone as well, too, again, after convention. But a few weeks ago, I was actually thinking about convention with my wife. We were driving through Sacramento and talking about things. And one thing that I just went back to was thinking about 1922 and the individuals who began 2030. And the number one organization, we have a closed board or a closed session, twice a year. And we often talk about the history and where it all began. And, Paul Claiborne, our kind of our founding member and president. And just to think what they would think about now and where it's gone to and the international aspect, I think they would be very proud to realize what started out as kind of a grassroots effort grew into an international, organization and the number of people that have been impacted as well, too. And I think looking at 100 years in that time frame, what has taken place, it's just it's a lot to think about because we're all, in our own forms, leaders in our organizations, and we're either, leader right now or been a leader. And, you look at what they were doing. They were leaders in an uncharted frontier. So it's just pretty cool to think about that 100-year aspect and what they were thinking about when they first started things. So that's kind of how I looked at it, 100-year celebration.
I'll chime in just by saying, the comment got made a lot, even tonight and, that week was we're looking forward to the next 100 years. And I think that the event, the Centennial event, the anniversary itself was just kind of it's almost a pressure cooker, because it's a reminder of how successful the organization has been in growth and in contributions to the various communities we serve. And there's a lot of responsibility that came from it. I think it's a good thing that, as you said, Nuria, you have these milestones. With any sort of organization, you have to have milestones, recognition events, so that people remind themselves, how important that the group is. You can get caught up in the day-to-day running of the organization and forget that sometimes. Here it is. Yeah. We got the reminder. Hey, look, and I got to hand it to the chairs. Ryan, you, Tyler, and Hillary, and all of the 1032 partners. It was terrific for me. One of my biggest learning aspects of the whole thing was how great we can be when we do team up. The Club Number 1 and 1032 did really great dynamic work on this thing. But we have a big legacy of responsibility going forward, to make sure it continues. There you go, Chris, Mr. President. Just keep it going. No pressure, man. Don't screw it up.
I came in halfway in your response because I got kicked, but I understand the sentiment. Thanks, Pat.
Guys.
Thank you, guys. Then
I think the same. I think we met a lot of wonderful people with a similar vision of helping people, and that's the thing that I like the most in Active 2030. Because despite whether if you are American or Mexican or Panamanian, Colombian, we all have the same vision. So that's the thing that I most appreciate about that.
Exactly. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. It has been great to hear what we didn't have the time to actually hear during the convention because you guys were running everywhere. And as you mentioned before, you were tired, you were thinking, planning ahead, considering everything and trying to solve every single aspect of the convention itself. But it is so wonderful to actually listen to you guys and notice how much this meant to you and how proud you are to actually be part of the Sacramento clubs, not only the men, but also the ladies. Because now, 100 years later, we can see that this convention was completely different from what 100 years ago was. We had our 1032 ladies and we have our SAC 1 gents working together, making a wonderful job, special for our membership in Active 2030 International. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm Nuria Rojas. I didn't say that at the beginning. I'm the international president of the organization, and we'll see you in the next episode of our podcast. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care.